going to look at leadership and communication and the relationship between the two. And we're also going to look at your role as a strategic communication advisor, both in terms of being a leader and being a follower. So think about it this way in terms of leadership and communication. Oftentimes it can be very, very advantageous and very powerful when a leader is a really good communicator. And your role in many respects is to be to counsel that leader on being a good communicator. At the same time, if you're going to counsel a leader on how they need to be better communicators, understanding leadership itself can be a really essential part of that equation, will help you do a much better job. The more you understand leadership, the more you understand the executive voice and what the role of that leader needs to be, the more that you can provide communication counsel that will serve that leader and your organization really well. On the other front, there is the whole notion of you being a leader yourself as a communication professional, as someone who's a steward of the brand and the values and making sure that what the organization says and how it behaves is aligned, and always being mindful and aware of that constantly. And it's a very, very critical part of your role as a leader in the organization. At the same time, you're often not the final decision maker when it comes to what communication programs may be implemented. It may involve your direct communication with the CEO and being able to understand how to engage with that CEO in a way that gets you in a position where you're speaking truth to power. And that can be really challenging sometimes because you may not always see things the same way because you are a steward of the brand and the values of the organization, and certainly you hope your CEO is as well. You may have some differences on that. So the three resources that I've got for you to look at this week are one, the 5 exemplary leadership practices from Kouzes and Posner. I think it's a great place to start in terms of looking at a leadership model. Now, clearly there are many, many out there, but Kouzes and Posner, I think, who wrote the Leadership Challenge a number of years ago, it's in its 6th edition. It's been published in 22 languages. I think is highly regarded as a leadership model that you can look at, and I think is extremely relevant to what you're going to do as a communication professional. So the 5 exemplary leadership practices, for example, is one, to model the way, right? A leader should always be behaving in the same manner and consistent with what they speak of, both for themselves and for the organization. And you as a communication professional, should be mindful of that and helping them do that. The other is inspiring a shared vision. And that word inspire, I think, is really important. How do you come up with language and a way for the CEO to communicate that really inspires the imagination of your employees about where the organization is going and to feel really good about that? Next is really challenging the process. Oftentimes what a CEO is challenged to do, and any leader is challenged to do, is look at all of the things that are being done in the organization and say, are there ways we can do it better? And you as a communication professional, how do you help that CEO challenge the process without necessarily challenging people in a way that feels either threatening or negative or anything like that? That we're all in this together just to try to be better and do our best. Enabling others to act is the 4th principle of Kouzes and Posner, which basically has people feel like they're empowered in the organization. They're not just being told what to do all the time, that they have a voice. And by giving them that voice and making them feel empowered, they can be extremely effective in helping you in your organization and unleash all that talent that you have there. And finally, I think, is encouraging the heart. It isn't just about appealing to people's heads. It's about making them feel really good and making them feel a certain way. And I think your role as a strategic communication advisor can help the leader accomplish those 5 things and do them really, really well. And if you can think about that in the context of the way you counsel your leader, it can be really effective. But for you is a PowerPoint presentation that I put together that's about speaking truth to power. And it's really, how do you go about, really having a conversation, with a CEO, where in effect it becomes your responsibility to express your professional opinion. However, there are ways to do it and ways not to do it. And I'd like to think that this PowerPoint presentation can provide some guidance for you as a strategic communication advisor about how to speak truth to power, how to speak to your CEO in a way where you can have that kind of open, honest, trusting dialogue. And at the end, whether that CEO decides to adopt your viewpoint or not, you both leave with a level of trust in one another about the process that you went through. And I think it's really, really essential when you think about your role and your responsibility as both a leader and a follower in your organization as a strategic communication advisors.